Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving straight into one of the most fascinating and profoundly dark chapters in human history. A moment that didn't just end a dynasty, but permanently altered the entire trajectory of human knowledge.
Seriously, how does the greatest civilization on Earth collapse in just 13 days? It sounds literally impossible, right? Well, today, we're going to conduct a historical autopsy on a legendary empire and see exactly how it unraveled with terrifying speed.
The year is 1258. Keep that date fixed in your mind. This is the exact moment a violent line was drawn in history, a definitive before and after for the intellectual world.
Part 1. The center of the world, before the destruction. Picture this. Founded in 762 as a perfect architectural circle, Baghdad had exploded into a massive metropolis of over 1 million people. We're talking paved streets, public hospitals, the whole shebang. And meanwhile, during this exact same period, Europe was languishing in the Dark Ages. Major cities like London and Paris were, quite frankly, little more than muddy villages compared to the Abbasid capital.
At the very heart of this thriving city was Beit al-Hikmah, the House of Wisdom. Now this wasn't just a simple library, it was a grand research academy. You had scholars of every faith, Muslims, Christians, and Jews, working side by side, translating Greek, Persian, and Indian texts into Arabic. It basically made Baghdad the undisputed beating heart of cross-cultural collaboration.
The achievements born here are just staggering. We're talking about the foundations of algebra laid by Al-Khwarizmi, whose very name gives us the word algorithm. Medical texts by Ibn Sina or Avicenna were so advanced they were actually taught in European universities for the next 600 years. They had a fully functional postal system and libraries holding hundreds of thousands of books. To put that into perspective for you, a single handwritten book in Europe back then was a royal treasure. Baghdad had hundreds of thousands of them.
Part 2. Decay from within, as the Golden Age fades.
So how does a society this advanced just fall apart? Well, it definitely doesn't happen overnight. By the 13th century, the Golden Age had already begun to fade. The mighty Abbasid Caliphate, which once stretched as a vast, unified empire all the way from Spain to India, had physically withered. It was now reduced to little more than the city of Baghdad and its immediate surrounding lands.
The decay was almost entirely internal. At the very top sat a weak, indecisive ruler, Caliph Al-Musta'sim. He was honestly far more interested in playing the lute and enjoying his personal comforts than actually defending his realm. Add to that some deep political rivalries, rising sectarian tensions, and just years of absolute complacency. The leadership was dangerously distracted, leaving the capital completely unprepared. Part 3. The Mongol storm gathers. A ruthless force.
Out in the steppes of Central Asia, a truly ruthless force was mobilizing. Led by Hulagu Khan, who was the grandson of Genghis Khan, the Mongol war machine possessed a terrifying momentum. They had already swept across and completely devastated China, Persia, and Central Asia. Now Hulagu turned his eyes toward Baghdad, sending a direct, chilling demand for the caliph's immediate surrender.
But Caliph Al-Musta'sim refused to surrender. Whether it was out of immense pride or unbelievably poor advice, he genuinely believed Baghdad's walls were impenetrable. He thought the sacred status of the Caliphate itself would magically protect them, that no earthly army would actually dare destroy the seat of the Islamic world. It was a fatal miscalculation.
Part 4. 13 Days of Ruin. The illusion shatters.
The second the Mongol army arrived, that illusion of safety completely shattered. In January 1258, the Mongols show up with well over 100,000 soldiers. Because Baghdad's defenses were so compromised by years of neglect, the siege lasted less than 2 weeks. The walls are easily breached, and immediately after, the massacre begins. A city that literally took 500 years to build was cracked open in mere days.
200,000 to 1 million. Just pause and let the horrifying scale of those estimated casualties sink in. While exact numbers are still debated by historians, this unequivocally stands as one of the most catastrophic massacres in recorded history.
Historical accounts from the time leave us with a truly haunting image. The Tigris River ran black with the ink of countless books, and red with the blood of scholars. Irreplaceable manuscripts on medicine, astronomy, and philosophy from the House of Wisdom were just hurled into the water. This wasn't just a massive loss of life, it was the tragic erasure of centuries of accumulated human knowledge.
In the immediate aftermath, Caliph Al-Musta'sim was captured. According to popular accounts, Hulagu Khan actually showed the Caliph his own hoarded treasures,
and asked a chilling question. Why did you not use this wealth to strengthen your army? The Caliph had absolutely no answer. It perfectly exposed the ultimate foolishness of hoarding vast wealth while entirely neglecting the defense of your own civilization.
And the Caliph's end was every bit as brutal as his cities. The Mongols held a deep superstition about spilling royal blood directly onto the earth. So to execute the last Abbasid Caliph, they rolled him tightly in a carpet and had him trampled to death by their horses. In a matter of moments, 500 years of Abbasid rule was violently extinguished. Part 5. A timeless lesson echoing across the centuries. The destruction of Baghdad was the symbolic end of the Islamic Golden Age. The intellectual capital of the world became a ruin overnight, and it took centuries for the city to even partially recover. In fact, many historians argue that the intellectual loss to humanity from the burning of those libraries has never truly been recovered.
When we look at the autopsy of this collapse, we realize something crucial. The Mongols didn't defeat Baghdad's armies alone. The leadership had completely failed to prepare. Unity had crumbled into petty rivalries, replaced by a dangerously false sense of security. The Mongols merely walked through a door that internal division and rot had already unlocked.
And that leads us to the true, timeless warning left behind in the ashes of the House of Wisdom. Civilizations are destroyed by the weaknesses they refuse to confront. They aren't just destroyed by the strength of external enemies, but far more often by the internal rot they simply choose to ignore.
Which leaves us with one final, very provocative question to consider. Looking at our own world today, what internal weaknesses are we refusing to confront before the storm arrives? It's a sobering thought for sure, but one we must ask if we want to learn from history. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep exploring and I'll see you next time.